Thank you, Mr. Sethi, for inviting me to interact with our international friends from Sri Lanka, Jordan. I belong to a center called Mahalanobis National Crop Forecast Center. It is under Ministry of Agriculture. The center is basically established for two major activities. One is crop production forecasting. We use satellite data, meteorological data, all these things for crop production forecasting. We give crop production forecast at national, state, district level using satellite data. Area we estimate using satellite data, and yield is estimated using meteorological and satellite data and models. So this is our regular operational activity. We do it for 7-8 crops, major crops of the country. We also do horticulture crop estimation for 7 major horticulture crops of the country. And since our estimate is, because you see from the satellite data early, so by 2 months of the crop we see the satellite data, so our estimates come early. Prior to the harvest of the crop, we give the estimates to the department. So it's a very good input for the department while finalizing the first estimates. Later on, department goes on getting from the states, including Mr. Rabbari is there from Gujarat. Every state gives the estimates to the center, and finally they finalize it. But for the early stage, when they don't have much of information, the satellite-based estimation acts a very major input. We also do another operational activity called drought assessment. I would just take a little, before I get into crop insurance, I'll just tell a little bit. Govt of India brought out a new drought manual in 2016. You can search for this on internet and see. It's a very comprehensive drought manual. It is a purely technical drought manual. Till 2016, we don't have a very, in the country, the states, the agriculture is a state subject. So we have so many states, and states declare drought, but there was no standardized procedure for drought declaration. So in 2016, though we had a drought manual earlier in 2009, but it was not a mandatory thing. So in 2016, drought manual was brought, and drought manual made a very quantitative and technical procedure for drought declaration. So we use, in the beginning we use rainfall, rainy days data to set up the trigger 1, we call it trigger 1, and then once trigger 1 is set up, we use 4 indicators. One is satellite based vegetation index, the second one is soil moisture, the third one is hydrological index, and the fourth one is crop zone area. All these 4 indicators, out of these 4, 3 you can choose and assess. Then based on this, if 2 are severe, you can declare an area as a severe drought. If less than 2 are severe, then you will go for moderate drought, then mild drought. And also it has been mandated in that if you have declared severe or moderate drought, you have to do ground truth in the field, and then only you can declare drought. So drought declaration has been, it's one of the, in the world it is one of the very standardized procedure for drought declaration. So this has been being followed from last 2 years. So I would suggest, if any of you are working in agriculture, must go see that drought manual. It's a very, very good technical document. So that we do, we also, and for last 2-3 years we are also getting into crop insurance, and this our center has a major role in providing technical inputs, especially satellite based inputs to the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Has anyone talked about PMFBI? Aapne bataya, you must have told them. So you know, PMFBI is a very large, one of the largest in the world. Of course, next to I think US and China, we have the largest insurance program, premium wise, area coverage wise, number of farmers wise, I think is the largest. And so it's a very large program. We also have this insurance program since 2016, and we recently came out with the revised guidelines of the PMFBI, where high emphasis has been given on use of satellite data, and especially the technology based inputs. A lot of protocols have been defined, so I would suggest this is also available online. You go for revised guidelines of PMAPI, especially the participants from India. You must see that, and outside participants also. If you have to develop a guideline in your country, you can see revised guidelines. It's a very informative guideline. So overall, I'll show you two things. One, I think Madam must have already talked about a lot about international scenario. So I will just talk about the satellite remote sensing, how it is used in crop insurance internationally, and second part will be mine, remote sensing for PMAPI, what we have done. You know, agriculture insurance products, I'm getting into your subject, but you know, basically first is indemnity-based agriculture insurance, then index-based insurance. We have an index-based insurance. It's an area, we use an area yield index. We also have a modified weather-based crop insurance that is mostly for horticulture crop. And we also have this indemnity-based agriculture insurance. We call it localized risk, especially if there is a hailstorm, if there is post-harvest damage. So that is mostly indemnity-based. Then we are not as of now having NDVI index-based insurance, but I'll show you how NDVI is being used. And there are other insurance used in different countries. So if you come to Asia Pacific country, India is the only country which used area yield as an index-based insurance. Most of and we also used weather, and sometime we have used as NDVI as an index. We have a company called Agriculture Insurance Company. Someone was there.
He was here.
Mr. Ajay Singhal was there. So AIC had done a lot of experiments for remote sensing based insurance. You know why remote sensing being used? Because was there any lecture on remote sensing? No, till now. I think RMSI must have talked about satellite remote sensing. So basically, you know, remote sensing means whatever we see from a satellite, conventionally from a satellite. Otherwise, anything we see without touching the target is remote sensing. But conventionally, what you see from a satellite, and so over a large area, the pictures we take, that is, we call it a remote sensing. So because it is spatially continuous, you are covering a large area of the earth. So you you don't have to go to every field to take observation. A satellite can move around and take up pictures of large area. You have a historical records because you need a long record for making insurance rate or deciding anything, threshold yield, etc. And getting old data, especially yield data, is difficult if you have to do it very disaggregated level, some kind of sub-district level. But remote sensing data is available from 80s, so we have more than 30 years of record. So that's why you can use that. And also remote sensing data is available real time. Any dead data today, if you satellite covers an area, within 2 days, 3 days, you get data on your table and you can do analysis. Majority of data, especially after Sentinel data became free, that's in the European satellite Copernicus, under Copernicus program. Sentinel was made free both for microwave, both on optical data. So this data is free. Satellite data is, even very high resolution satellite data is free. Sentinel, Landsat data are free. And Indian data are of course very low cost. We have only 4,000, 5,000 rupees per a large area of 147 by 147 kilometers. Of course, this data is unprocessed, so you need to have some technical person to process the data. And it can generate a large spectrum of parameters. From remote satellite data, you can large a spectrum of parameters. You can get information about plant growth, you can information about soil moisture, rainfall, temperature. By the way, I would not mind anyone in between asking me to stop and asking questions. So please don't hesitate. Okay, because it's, as I understand, it's a training program. So training is more of a discussion. So if you go on in between ask me questions, that's okay. Soil moisture, rainfall, temperature, all this information you can get from satellite data because of the various wavebands we are using. Vegetation greenness, it can also calculate rainfall, you can estimate rainfall, satellite based rainfall. And since this data is digital, open to everyone, so it's difficult for the parties to influence the data. So that's why you have a more standardized product. That is why these are the things which are needed for insurance. Now let us see how internationally satellite data is used for remote sensing. There are three aspects which are being used. First is underwriting of risk. That means you do a risk journey so that your premiums are decided based on them. One of the major examples is flood insurance rate map of Federal Emergency Management Authority of USA. So what do? They know from satellite data you can assess the flooded area. So if you see 10-12 years flooded area, you know which are the areas where flood will be, which are vulnerable to floods. So you can generate insurance rate based on that. So flooded area which is regularly flooded, they will have higher premium rate than the especially for flood insurance, and the places which have a less flood chance, so they will have low premium rate. Similarly, in India, we generated a drought frequency max from NDVI. You can use that also for insurance rate making. The second aspect is when you have a typical claim assessment like indemnity based insurance, where we call it here, it is called a localized risk. Suppose there is a place where there are some either hailstorm is affected or some disease is affected and crop has gone lost. So you can use satellite data comes in every 10 days, especially sentinel data comes in every 10 days. You decide what should be the levels of this index so the claim can be given. And so different service providers gave different indices. One gave relative evapotranspiration, another gave soil water index, another gave actual evapotranspiration, another gave rainfall, and NDVI another tried vegetation index called FAPA, fraction absorbed photosynthetic activity. So different agencies, 6 agencies came together, they decided their index, they gave the data, they decided the levels where the claims can be given, and they did the study, and they found it very interesting and highly useful. So this is a report available online. I have also downloaded it online. All of you can go through. There's a very good pilot study. You don't involve the research institute, you should involve the government, you should involve the insurance agency, and you should involve the farmers. Then only index will be successful. The insurance regulatory authorities need to be involved and have generally been supportive of initiatives for remote sensing index. We had 2 days back, we had a meeting of review of Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, and where insurers were there. In fact, they were only promoting remote sensing. So the reinsurers and insurers are very much appreciative of remote sensing. Consumer education will be a key component of success, and access to reinsurance has generally ceased to be limiting factor in starting index. That is what I said. So basically insurers are very much, because they have seen the problems with ground data, so that's why they are very much supportive of this. This I am showing how typically USDA uses satellite data, the risk management agency. They use either for tracking of reported crops or monitoring of discrepancies if there is a fraud, if there is a higher claim of area, so they can always use satellite data. They determine disaster extent and monitoring of fraud. They use also, they continuously, actually USDA continuously uses AWS data, Indian AWS data, and continuously monitoring area. But the difference between United States area and our area, or all of your area, is our lands are very small. So it's so getting information about individual field is difficult. So we have to more depend on satellite data than the ground data. Now let's come to PMFBI. The PMFBI, as I mentioned, is the crop insurance, the new crop insurance program we started in 2016. It's an yield index insurance. So we have to do crop cutting experiments. India is the pioneer in defining and designing the crop cutting experiments. Started in 30s from Mahalanobis, after whose name this our center is built. Mahalanobis, then Pansa and Sukatme, 2 great statisticians in Institute Delhi. So they designed, and finally FAO accepted. So most of the countries are using crop cutting experiments for yield estimation. So yield is an yield insurance, and typically it is defined. We have to do 4 crop cutting experiments if the village panchayat, a group of villages is called village panchayat. So village panchayat is the insurance unit. You have to do 4 crop cutting experiments, and that is for a major crop. And if you have a minor crop, the insurance unit will be block level, and you have to do 16 or 10, 16 crop cutting experiments. 16 crop cutting experiments. And it's an area based approach. That means whatever 4 crop cutting experiments you do, the yield of that, average yield of that 4 crop cutting experiment. So that becomes a difficult, that really there becomes a Herculean task. So that is why, that's why large number of organizations, including the Niti Aayog, which is earlier known as Planning Commission, the National Statistical Commission in 2001, Niti Aayog, they all promote that for village level estimates, technology should be used, not that normal crop cutting experiments. And we have found that vegetation indices and other parameters which is generated from satellite data, so which are good yield proxies, they can explain yield better. So there are 2 ways we can use satellite data for CCE planning, crop cutting experiment planning. One, either at the beginning of planning, you say where should be colored. I'll tell you how to, and then or you do a post stratification, or you all this I will explain now. Now beginning, let us see. You have satellite data which gives you a para index called NDVI, and you can use NDVI to see good crop, poor crop, moderate crop, those kind of, you can classify into 3-4 categories and randomly select points. By doing so, what happens? 2 things happen. One is, by doing less number of crop cutting experiments, you can get same, as I had shown that Wahlberg study, you can get the same accuracy of yield estimation. Second, since you are using crop cutting satellite data to extrapolate those, whatever crop cutting experiments you are doing, you are extrapolating that to a village level, so you are more looking into each field. The farmers complain that the 4 fields where the crop cutting experiments are being done do not represent their own field. It may be some biased field or something like that. But here in satellite data you are seeing every pixel, you are seeing every field. So every field is counted. Indirectly every field is counted. So that is how you can. Either you can do planning, crop cutting where it should be done, or after crop cutting experiment is done, to estimate the yield, you can do a post stratification and do that. Or you can use the taluk level yield, that block level yield, and bring back to village level yield by using satellite data. So you are not changing the base data. Base data is still a crop cutting experiment, less number of good quality crop cutting experiments, and you are extrapolating using a satellite data.
Sir,
you get, yes.
Just a question. I just wanted to understand what is the basis of classifying good, bad, or very good?
See, basically satellite data, apart from giving an area estimate, it also gives the crop condition, because your whatever reflectance you measure from to estimate at yield at pixel level and combine that. But this is still a research topic. To get into finally to operational level may take some time. We also, various localized losses have been discussed, defined in this crop insurance program. For example, if there is an impact of hailstorm, if an inundation or flood, localized flood, or there is where there is not a large area, so you can't wait for the final yield. If you want to get a 50% on account payment, so you can use satellite data as a qualitative check. Satellite data may not say exactly how much is the loss, but it can say it is a severe loss or say moderate loss and a low loss. At least for severe loss, you can give the 50% on account payment. There is another aspect which is called seasonality, because every state has the deadlines of premium deduction are defined. but every state, every district this has to be in relation to the sowing time. When is the sowing occurring? But every state has a different sowing time. Or every district, even within a state, every district has a different sowing time. So we have used satellite data, last 5 years of combined satellite data, to find out what is the district-wise sowing time of that crop. So this can be used to fix those deadlines. This is another aspect where you have to do in PMFA. It has been defined a set of districts that the insurance companies can bid for a group of districts. The group of districts, suppose that the state is divided into 6 groups of districts. Each group has organizations, including private companies, in 12 states, 32 districts for 8 crops. This particular pilot study is aimed at doing CC optimization, how to use technology for optimizing reducing the number of CCs. So these kind of pilot studies are regularly going on, so that you can adding more and more technologies. So the way ahead is we need to have a comprehensive geo portal where you can have satellite data, we can have soil data, weather data, so that all these things which I talked about can be done online. You can do online smart sampling, you can do online quality checking. This is what we plan to do in next coming year. We have started doing crop area estimation and block level, and which can be used by using the modern tools like machine learning techniques, use of high resolution data, which can be used for area correction. And we are doing large number of, as I mentioned, large number of pilot studies for CC optimization, smart sampling, index-based insurance. This is continuously Government of India is trying. High resolution region mapping, I showed something which has to be done national level, and also with the new UAV guidelines, there is a possibility of large scale use of UAVs for localized loss assessment. So we have come somewhere with the PMFBI, with technology, but a long way to go, finally to insure every farmer separately. So that's the aim, and the Government of India is giving lot of emphasis at Prime Minister's level, at Cabinet Secretary level, lot of emphasis is given for this program. Thank you.